I came up with this recipe for this pasta dish, a few years ago now, and seriously, we have it at least once a fortnight. Start to finish, it's 30 minutes, and it's so full of flavour because of the chorizo. If you don't like chorizo or you can't get it, use salami. And earlier on this year, I went to New Zealand and I made it for my daughter and her husband, and they loved it, and it's on a regular rotation at their place now because it's just the perfect, quick and delicious meal. So you'll need a good quality chorizo or salami and a fully cured one, and there is a difference. So this one here is a chorizo, but it's not fully cured, it's like semi-cured. And these ones here are chorizos that are fully cured, and they're hard and they're just full of flavour. If you're in Australia, try and get this brand. I've been using it for a couple of years now, and they have just beautiful small goods, this company, and it's a local company as well, 100% Aussie. This is a packet of 2, which is 200 grams each, and for this recipe you just need 200 grams of chorizo or salami, and that company also does an amazing salami. Now, the most tricky part with this chorizo is getting the skin off. If you know of an easier way to get the skin off salamis or chorizos, please let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate that because this is what takes me the longest to do. But the skin does come off, and it doesn't matter if you leave a little bit of skin on, it's completely edible. Sometimes I chop them into little bits and sometimes I slice them. Today I'm just going to slice them into quite thin bits like that. And if I've left any skin on, because they're so thin, you won't even notice. 1 medium-sized onion, and just chop that, dice it. That'll do. Now, I love roasted red capsicums that you can buy in a jar. I prefer using these than a fresh capsicum. So they're just roasted red bell peppers, and I've got, I think I weighed it about 160 grams here. And all I'm going to do is just sort of slice them. Now these are the ones in water and just a little bit of vinegar, but you can also use the ones in oil, depending what's available. And I'll just set them aside. Now I've got 4 really ripe, beautiful tomatoes here, and they weigh 600 grams. And all I'm going to do is cut them in half initially and take the seeds out because that's where the acidity lies. You can totally leave the seeds in. It may mean that you need to adjust the sugar in the sauce because seeds can be quite acidic. And you know, I prefer using fresh tomatoes for this dish. The tin tomatoes are just not as good. This pasta sauce only has a few ingredients, so I like using the fresh tomatoes. It makes such a difference. And that can go in the compost bucket. And then all I do is just roughly chop them. They're going to cook down and they'll all break down anyway. Now that's it. That's all the chopping. So I've just got a pot filled with water and I'll bring it to the boil. So warm up a big pan over a moderate heat and add a good splash of oil. And this will get the chorizo cooking. Olive oil I'm using. And then throw in the chorizo and the onion. So I'm just going to cook this for a few minutes until the onions become translucent and soft and the chorizo releases its lovely flavours. And I'm cooking it just over a moderate heat. And when the water for the pasta comes to the boil, add a good big spoon of salt, and I'm using 350 gram packet of pasta. So the onions have softened and the chorizo has been releasing its lovely flavour. And now I just add the tomatoes, the roasted capsicum, 1 teaspoon of paprika powder. I'm just using a sweet paprika, and that just really brings out the flavours from the bell pepper and the chorizo. Then I sprinkle over about a teaspoon of sugar. And I put the lid on, just turn down the heat just slightly and let that cook and break down. So the tomato mixture has been cooking for about 4 to 5 minutes. I'm just going to give it a little stir and see how it's going. And I'm just going to take a little pasta water and put it in here. Put the lid back on and let that cook for another 5 minutes. And the sauce is almost all broken down. And if it hasn't, just cook it for a little bit longer. And totally optional, but I like a few olives. And sometimes I just put the sliced black olives, they're really good. The tomatoes are almost all broken down. I'm just going to put the lid on, turn it up slightly and cook it for another minute. That's looking good. Now is the time to taste it for seasoning, and all I do is always just taste a little bit of the sauce. My Mike likes his pasta a little bit on the sweet side, so I'm just going to add another teaspoon of sugar. And I haven't seasoned this because the chorizo is quite salty anyhow, and it just needs a little bit of pepper, a tiny bit of salt. So what I do now is I take the pasta directly from the water into the pan, and this will also put in some pasta water, which is great because pasta is so absorbent, and this will soak up a lot of the sauce. And I'm just going to add a little bit more pasta water, just a ladle. And that is done. I probably overcooked my pasta, but it is gluten-free, so it does break easier. So yeah, forgive me for that one, please. This one's for Mike. And yeah, my pasta's broken. It is gluten-free pasta though. This is so yum for what it is. What I like to do, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's mine, is just to put a little bit more olive oil on the top. You finish it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, if that's what you like, or cheddar cheese. And I don't usually do this, but a little bit of fresh parsley. And that's one delicious bowl of pasta that took 30 minutes start to finish. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope to see you again soon. Beautiful.